Parsha, how Kodesh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Dabid no ba'osnei ha'om, speak, I beg of you, speak to the people that they should be attentive to this request. V'yishalu ish me'Yisraelu, v'yisha me'Yisrael, each person should borrow from his fellow, each woman from her fellow, klei chesem klei zov, silver and gold vessels. So Rashi cites Chazal, Eino el loshe bakosha, he's pleading with him, he's requesting, Hasirim al kach, you should forewarn them, Shlo yomar osa tzadik avrom, that tzadik avrom should not say, V'avodu v'inu osa kim b'lahem, that the first part of the decree of the Bris Bein HaBesarim was fulfilled, they were enslaved, they were afflicted, but the latter part, they would go out with great wealth, that was not fulfilled. So therefore, I ask of you, please convince them, impress upon them they have to borrow the wealth. Chazal tell us that there were 3 junctures where Klal Yisrael became wealthy. They became wealthy with Makas Dam, because Chazal tell us that the Makkah of Dam, the plague of blood, did not affect the Jews. It affected only the Mitzrayim, the Egyptians. If they wanted water, they had to purchase it from the Jew. And if they would try to steal it from the Jew or force the Jew to relinquish it, it would revert back to blood. So the only way it remained water, they had to pay. So Nisashru Yisrael B'dam, Makas Dam, they became wealthy. Second time they became wealthy is that now, David no bosnei om, they should borrow the silver gold vessels. The third was Bisas Hayam, was the spoils of the sea, when the Egyptians were cast out with the chariots. And it says, Gedola Bisas Hayam, Gedola Bisas Mitzrayim, the spoils of the sea were even greater. The question is, what do we need these 3 junctures? First, they borrowed, they became wealthy. So evidently, it was not Rechush Gadol. It was not considered the wealth to be the equivalent that it would have been considered the fulfillment of the Bris Bein HaBesarim, of the covenant between the parts. So therefore, that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, please ask him, beg of you, that they should borrow. But if you had the latter, what do we need the first part? The first, that they should become wealthy through the Makas Dam. Why? Evidently, if it happened, it was a necessity, it was necessary. Evidently, for the development of Klal Yisrael. And that was really, they were already told of a Yishalu 9 months before they left to borrow the vessels. So the Dam, the plagues were over a 10-month period. That means they're ready 10 months before they left, they're ready in a wealthy state, not to that degree. What was the value of that wealth? We rule that if a person coerces a person, compels a person to relinquish his rights to a piece of property, and the person pays market value, it's considered a valid relinquishment. Even if you force a person to give up something, if he willingly gives it up, it's considered a relinquishment. But you understand, but the one who now is the owner, he doesn't feel that he was valued. Definitely not. He may be the owner of the property, but did the person consensually give it? Halachically, it's consensual. But did he willingly give it? He was forced. He was compelled to give it. That's why you have it. The value of the wealth, until then they were what? They were chattels. Closer, they were avodim, they were slaves. They were the possessions of the Egyptians. Now that the Jew sees the Mitzri needs him, you cannot live without me. That was the first level. That had to take place. You're transitioning from an object which you have no value, now you have great value. Whether the Egyptian likes it or not, you have value, because if not for you, the Egyptian cannot live. And not only that, he will pay for that. He will pay for his life, he will pay for the water. That's to give a sense of value to the Klal Yisrael, to extricate them gradually from one level up from the bondage state. Nisashu, you need me. You don't dictate any longer to me. Not only don't you dictate, I dictate whether you live or die, because only if I'm agreeable to release the water, does it remain water. And this new level. It was a ness. Before they borrowed, they had to find special favor. Whoever heard the slave going to the master says, I want to borrow your most valuable personal possessions. How would he react? But they found special value and special charm. The Mitzri feels it's his privilege to lend a Jew. He feels privileged. Also, the Jew says, it's unbelievable. Until now, I was an object. All of a sudden, now I see I'm something that I didn't realize who I am. That even my master values me as if I'm his master. He's privileged to give it to me. Brings them to another level. Another level. So it's not only, no, you're no longer my master and I dictate to you, but that was really, they had no choice, the Mitzri, regardless of that. But to give the person that self-value to the degree that he didn't even realize and understand to what degree you had value, that happened with borrowing. And that's why there was a prerequisite, that they had a special charm, that the person felt privileged that they could lend a Jew. The Jew sees himself as what? As something different. It's only a circumstance, the slavery. But who am I? I'm a Ben Melech, I'm a prince, that's who I am. Now HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the Bisas Hayam, the spoils of the sea, which Gedola, Bisas Hayam, Yosef, Bisas Mitzrayim. What was the value of that? That Chazal say explicitly, that was for the Mishkan. Binyan HaMishkan. The amount of wealth that went into Mishkan is not to be understood, the amount of wealth. And they gave it, as it say, within no time, everything was brought, that even the Nisim were nearly left out. That's the amount of wealth, but it was given immediately. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm willing to will in your midst, but you have to create this edifice. What would be, they would have only had a limited amount of wealth, and they would have hesitated. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a mitzvah, the ultimate, to have a level of attachment, which is unheard of. It's the level of Kodim Achet, that Hashem is coming to the terrestrial level to be in our midst, and we should hesitate. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I want this mitzvah done perfectly. I'm giving you the wealth of the seas greater than that. That's without any hesitation. So we should be able to fill the mitzvah in that most perfect way, to do it with the selflessness.